Good evening. Welcome to the Materials Science class at Eagle Crest High School. This is our virtual back to school night. There are two instructors for this course, Miss Taja and myself, Sandy Mikesell. You can see our email, voicemail, remind, and office information below. We prefer communication through email and we'll try to get back to you within a day. If you would like to sign up for the Remind app, you're welcome to do so as a parent. You can simply text 81010 and put at EHS127 in the message, and you'll get notices about important due dates or other information throughout the year. So the Materials Science is an engineering technology science course through the Career and Technical Education pathway, the SciTech pathway at Eagle Crest High School. We have several units that we study over the course of the year: solids, metals, ceramics, and polymers and composites. And students will use hands-on, lab-based science and engineering principles to learn about the materials within our everyday world, from paper clips to spaceships. We'll be studying the properties, processing, and functions of the materials that make our products. We're so excited for your students to join this class. For supplies, they'll need a binder, single subject notebook, some type of a calculator, whether it's scientific or graphing, pen or pencil, and if they prefer safety goggles that are brand new, they'll need to pay $5 for those. We do offer used sanitized goggles for free for students to use the entire year. We would also love for them to go on Eagle Crest and the Payments and RevTrack and pay the $5 fee for the Materials Science Workbook. That helps fund our program, which is pretty expensive because we do labs almost every single day of class. So if your family has the ability to afford it, we would absolutely value and appreciate your support with the workbook fee. But if it will cause you financial distress, please know that it is optional. So I'd like to talk about how this class is structured. And I'm going to talk to you about the learning cycle and the performance cycle. In the learning cycle, this is where we're trying and learning new tasks and content. This might be through notes or podcasts, through labs, through class activities, and through practice assignments. If we were in a theater class, this would be when you're learning the script to the new production, or the choreography and staging, or possibly you're learning the dance or the new song. And at the end of that cycle, generally you take a formative assessment. The formative assessment is an ungraded diagnostic test. It's designed to give you that feedback before the actual graded assessment. So this is like the dress rehearsal before opening night. The dress rehearsal is the last chance to make sure that you make thoughtful corrections and changes so that you have a stellar opening night performance. So now we're getting to the performance cycle. The performance cycle is when we actually assess over our content. And in materials science, the assessments are content checks. Please note that students may use their notes or labs on the assessment. The content checks are the only thing that go in our gradebook to calculate the student's overall semester grade. They are very important. They measure how much we've learned as we participated in all of the formative work. I consider the content checks like the opening night performance. Now we're going to measure and see how you do. And as we know, every once in a while, a show falters. It doesn't have the great opening night performance we thought it would. And in that case, students are allowed to do retakes and reassessments. There's always another show, whether it's another night that you're performing the show or whether you get involved in a different theatrical production. We want to give students the message that you can keep working, keep learning, and come in and retake and reassess, and we'll honor that more recent score in the gradebook because we would like students to always try their hardest and show growth over time. So our course structure is set up with practice tasks. All of these practice tasks are ungraded. They're not for points, they're just to get us ready for the graded assessment. These are notes, in-class activities, whiteboard practice, and labs. And then performance tasks are content checks, and if needed, remediation and reassessment over those content checks. Please note that since our class does a lab almost every class period, attendance is critical because students are not allowed to take a content check until they've completed the lab that the content check is over to satisfaction. So students must complete the lab fully before they're allowed to take a content check over the material. In PowerSchool, we'll show their practice that's ungraded using the following codes. So the check mark will show that it's been collected and the work's been completed to satisfaction. You'll be looking for check marks on their labs to show that they're able to take the content checks. The circle that is partially filled in means incomplete, and it shows that the work is incomplete and students need to do revisions because they have not yet met the satisfaction standard to get that assignment checked off. And finally, the exclamation point shows that the work is missing and we have not seen it yet. It hasn't been completed at all or turned in. And so this is something that you should be paying attention to as a parent and communicating with your child about. What's their plan? How are they going to fix this? Finally, we're going to enter these codes to show actual grades on content checks in the gradebook. And we grade A-level work where their content check shows a high level of understanding as an A or a 95 in the gradebook. Proficient level work as a C or 75 in the gradebook. And then content checks that don't show that level of understanding get put in as in E for no evidence with a 55. And again, remember, any scores you're not satisfied with, you can do another reassessment after some remediation to get a higher score. Finally, the PowerSchool code of MHI 50%, not handed in, means the student has not done that content check, possibly because they were absent or because they haven't completed the lab that it's associated with, and so they can't do the content check until they complete the lab. They would need to schedule a makeup ASAP if that were the case. Our grading scale will be the following. We're going to take and determine their overall semester grade by taking the average on their individual performance assessments, their content checks. So the only work you'll see in the gradebook over the course of the semester is the content checks, and we'll use the average of all of those to determine their grade in the class. If your student's struggling, they can get support on Mondays in East 127 from 3:45 to 4:30. And of course, we'll be happy to schedule additional times during off periods, lunch, before or after school by appointment. Some tips for success. I would expect students to complete the practice with fidelity. We absolutely expect mistakes. They're part of the learning process, but students will not grow as learners if they're not doing the practice. That means the in-class practice and labs, which are critical for students to be successful on the content checks. Be an active learner. Ask questions. Come to help sessions. Have a growth mindset. Be willing to complete remediation and retake assessments if you have a low score. And finally, attend class regularly. This class is hands-on and very lab-based. If you're absent, you can use Schoology as a resource to see what you miss, and please work to make up the materials as quickly as possible. I hope this was helpful. Thanks so much, parents, for coming, and have a wonderful evening.